me say happy Friday to everybody. Most of you went on the field trip. If you didn't go on the field trip, you missed out on a good field trip, but there are also 8 points associated with going on the field trip, but you can make those up on the laboratory exercises section of the course website. There's a printout you can do where there's an alternative assignment worth 8 points. So if you didn't go, get that to me. Let's see, so today's Friday and you'll do the lecture quiz in here. I'll stop the lecture around 5 minutes early to give you time for that. And it's going to be on some of the cells topics that we've been studying up to this point. All this stuff on the chapter of cells. Let's see, we finished the cells chapter last time, and we started in on a new chapter called energy and metabolism. So I will continue with that lecture, but remember that the energy and metabolism topics are not going to be on the midterm that you'll be having this coming Monday. That midterm will cover the biological macromolecules like proteins, nucleic acids, and lipids and carbohydrates, and the chapter we did on cells, but none of this metabolism stuff, which is a good thing because it looks kind of complicated. So we'll save it for midterm number 3. All right, well, one of the major concepts from last time was that cells are full of thousands of different organic molecules, and you see some of them pictured and labeled here. And to be alive really means to constantly carry out chemical reactions that change some of those organic molecules into other organic molecules. And that's essentially what the arrows are showing here, is some of these chemical reactions where the cell changes one type of organic molecule into another. But enzymes are involved in all of those chemical reactions, enzymes being those proteins that can grab hold of one molecule and change it in some way and change it to a different molecule. In other words, proteins that carry out chemical reactions are the enzymes. So really all the arrows in this diagram represent enzymes. And the whole thing, all the thousands of chemical reactions that go on inside an organism, is called that organism's metabolism. And the people who study metabolism, or metabolic reactions, if you want to call it that, subdivide the metabolic reactions, all those thousands of reactions, into 2 major subcategories: catabolic reactions and anabolic reactions. And the essential difference is the reaction tearing down a larger molecule into smaller molecules, or is the reaction taking smaller molecules and linking them together to build up a larger molecule? The catabolic reactions are the ones where the larger molecules are being broken down. The kata in this word is the same kata we have in the word catastrophe, where buildings and roads and houses and things are torn apart to bits. Whereas the anabolic reactions are the ones where the smaller molecules get linked together to build larger molecules. They are not tearing down reactions, they're building up and constructing type of reactions. And just to sort of drill you on this, here's a starch molecule. And when you eat food, the starches in the food, well, I don't want to give away the answer, but when you put those starches inside your digestive system, there's an enzyme called amylase enzyme. So is the amylase enzyme doing a catabolic or anabolic reaction? Catabolic, right, because it's taking that big starch molecule and breaking it down into, that's a good review question. What is it breaking it down into? Anybody remember the name of that disaccharide? Begins with an M. Maltose is the disaccharide made out of 2 glucoses put together. Anyway, so the point is it's a catabolic reaction because a larger molecule is being broken into smaller ones. This is, well, it's part of the photosynthesis reaction. Catabolic or anabolic? Anabolic, right. You can see that there are, well, how many molecules total on the left-hand side? 12, right? 6 molecules of carbon dioxide, 6 molecules of water. but they're being assembled into one larger molecule, which you might recognize as a glucose molecule. Now, to be honest, this is not the full photosynthesis reaction. There are also some oxygen molecules that are produced on this side, but the point I'm making is overall the photosynthesis reaction is anabolic in that you're taking large numbers of smaller molecules and linking them together to make just a few larger molecules. All right, now as a general rule, anabolic reactions, the building up reactions, require energy. The cell needs to put energy to build up things, whereas the catabolic reactions usually generate energy. And you could make some analogies with building a house. If you're going to build a house, you have to put a lot of energy into it. I don't know, nailing all those boards together and connecting the pipes and things like that. It just takes a lot of work to build up things. Whereas, imagine a big skyscraper. If it comes crashing down and breaks into thousands of millions of pieces, that releases a lot of energy. That could generate a lot of energy. And using photosynthesis, it's a good example. Of course, the sun's energy is the energy that is required, that you have to put into this photosynthesis anabolic reaction to get it to occur. Alrighty, well, let's see. I've been mentioning quite a bit about energy just now, and so let's define that term. If you ask a physicist what energy is, they will probably say this: energy is the capacity to do work, which kind of makes sense to me. If you think about energetic people, they certainly have the ability to do a lot of work. And the physicists often subdivide energy into two major types, two categories of energy. One's called kinetic energy, and the other is called potential energy. And the word kinetic means motion, so it's the energy of an object that's due to its motion. Anything that's moving, by virtue of the fact that it's moving, has kinetic energy. Think of this as the momentum of the object or the force of the object as it's moving. Certainly those kids at the bottom of the slide have a lot of kinetic energy. A speeding freight train has a lot of kinetic energy. Water rushing down a mountain stream has a lot of kinetic energy, just because it has mass and it's moving. It has kinetic energy. The other type of energy is called potential energy, and this is the most important part of the definition. It is stored energy, or what I sometimes put it this way: potential energy is kinetic energy waiting to happen. The water behind this dam right here, because of its position, it's at a high elevation, has a lot of potential energy in it. The water molecules aren't moving too quickly right now, there, but if there was going to be a hole appeared in the dam, if the dam broke, suddenly they would pick up a lot of kinetic energy. And so, as I said, whenever you have a substance due to its location or its arrangement, doesn't have kinetic energy, but kinetic energy that can very easily appear. It's kinetic energy waiting to happen. Then you say that the substance has potential energy, essentially stored up kinetic energy. Alrighty. All right. Well, let's see. One of the things that we're going to be talking a lot about potential energy in this lecture. And you're going to see a lot of potential energy diagrams, which is just a graphical way of showing how much potential energy something has. And they usually, when they have these potential energy diagrams, show the amount of potential energy in the substance here on the y-axis. And this, I guess, then represents like the dam that we just saw. There's the water stored up behind the dam, and it has a lot of potential energy because if we were to open up the dam, it would turn into a lot of kinetic energy when it flowed all the way down there to the bottom. If you could imagine a dam that had a little bit less elevation like this, the water there still has potential energy, because if you open up the dam, you're still going to get kinetic energy being created out of it, but not as much, just because there's a smaller difference between the elevation, between the potential energy here and how much kinetic energy you get if it flowed down to there. Or you can even go in lower still. The water still has potential energy, but not anywhere near as much, because you just won't get a lot of kinetic energy when you allow it to flow. Now, how does this relate to actual living things? Well, molecules, for instance, can have potential energy. When I was talking about how the cells get energy for their proteins, I said that the cytoplasm of cells has this ATP molecule floating around inside, and any protein that needs energy to do some task will just sort of grab an ATP that's flowing around and get energy out of that molecule, because ATP has a lot of stored up energy inside of it, potential energy-wise. And you might remember that ATP is adenosine triphosphates. It has 3 phosphate groups as part of its structure, and that what the proteins do is they rip off that last phosphate group, and so what you get then, when the energy has been taken out of the molecule, you get adenosine diphosphate and what's called an inorganic phosphate that's no longer attached to the original organic molecule. And so this is like the water at the bottom of the dam. It no longer has any significant potential energy inside of it. Alrighty. Moving along. Substances can change the amount of potential energy that they have. Like looking at this slide right here, which kids, the top or the bottom, have the potential energy? Top, right, because of their arrangement, because of their location, they're not moving very quickly. They're sitting around waiting for their chance to go down the slide. But when they do go down, suddenly they're going to pick up a bunch of kinetic energy, and that's the concept of potential energy. It's kinetic energy waiting to happen. So these guys have lots of potential energy, but whoosh, right when they reach the bottom of the slide, they no longer have that potential energy.